I'd hoped to make this video with Ayub and Simo alongside me and the other men who work so diligently round the clock in the hospital block. Unfortunately, I can't get them all together. Ayub has been up all night, but still he's just taken the truck out. He's picking up cement and more building materials for the stables, the ongoing renovation and so on. Simo is off doing something else, he's very busy, and the others are working with the animals. So I'm going to do this video alone. But they all want you to know that we are a team and they are 100% with me. I'm not going to allow any comments on this video for several reasons. Firstly, we are all quite traumatized and we can't cope with the comments and the questions. We don't have time to answer them. And secondly, what I'm going to tell you is so important. You must really trust us and leave it to us to see it through. Last night, the reason Ayub was up all night is that the horse with what appeared to be a broken leg in Agadir, people contacted me and I said, of course, we would do everything we could to help, but I wanted it seen by a vet before it travelled. I didn't want a horse with a badly broken leg to do the long journey from Agadir to us here in Marrakesh. That was arranged and a vet saw the horse and we were told that there was no break. He couldn't see any break and it was fit to travel. So drivers from Agadir who sometimes work with us, and they're absolutely excellent, they left late evening when it was cooler. They tried their best to keep the animal comfortable and cool, and it arrived with us in the early hours of this morning. When it arrived, Ayub was horrified. He took the makeshift splint off and the leg was completely smashed and broken in several places. He wouldn't permit the horse to be dragged out of the truck, even into our stable. So he gave it painkillers, food, made it as comfortable as he could, and we waited until morning. The drivers who came with it got some sleep here. And first thing, we contacted our vet. Our vet was actually on the way to quite an important visit to one of the Casbahs who had animals, but he actually cancelled it and came here. And the horse had to be euthanized. Now, of course, we're traumatized because we see this thing every day of our lives. But there's no point just seeing it, being upset and not doing anything. We can see around the rest of Morocco, associations who deal primarily with dogs are almost sinking under the strain. And I give my wholehearted support to those people who are doing whatever they can for the dogs in Morocco. But as far as we're concerned, I want to say now, I hope His Majesty King Mohammed VI of Morocco gets sight of this video. I hope the government does, and I hope the Minister of the Interior does. Perhaps even more importantly, I hope the local administration does. Now, we know for a fact that the royal family are very committed and they love animals, and particularly horses. I can promise you that. And I can also tell you that decisions have been made at that level to relieve the suffering of these animals where it occurs. But by the time it gets to local level, often it's problematic and it doesn't happen. So, for example, we are here 24 kilometers south of Marrakesh. We have visitors from all over the world who can see what we do and can testify to what we do. They also can see how well we keep the grounds, how clean it all is, and what a credit it has become to the local village, where we now employ 20 men. We're the biggest consumers of wheat in the area and food generally, and all the ancillary tasks that have to be done, we use local people and local craftsmen. So we contribute to the local economy in a very big way. And thank you to all of those internationally who support us. We've also had visits from a lot of the embassies in Rabat, always very successful visits. We've had visits from friends in the royal household, and so it goes on. But the one person who's never visited us to look around is our local, we call him the Qaid. He is in charge locally, he's the King's representative in the area. He has visited during the evening and seen the night guardian. He hasn't bothered to come and see us and has told the night guardian to tell us to stop building. He has issued a notice to tell us to stop building. What are we to do? The fact is that while there are quite a lot of associations dealing primarily with dogs, we're the only large association that deals uniquely with equines, including horses. And whilst Spanner do a good job in terms of going out into the countryside with their trucks and helping people who've got working donkeys and treat them on the spot, they can't offer them long-term care or retirement facilities as we can. And because we've taken that role on, we have over the years, my whole team, become very skilled and very sophisticated in terms of the work that they do. And that is certainly recognised by vets who do visit here. What troubles me is that we have now become the first port of call, and we get phone calls every day from all over the country who can't get help elsewhere. The 2 donkeys we brought down with broken legs that had been abandoned close to Rabat. I had messages from local people in the area thanking me, who said they had contacted so many associations, but we were the only ones that responded. Now that's understandable, because I think now we're the only association that have a hospital block, that have the equipment, that have developed the skills locally to be able to do this work. But what really troubles me is that the donkeys in Rabat, no vet went to see them. And I had a bit of a moan about veterinary services the other day, if you remember, and lo and behold, a vet in Agadir did go to see this horse and declare it fit for travel. Our own vet was completely bemused because the splint hadn't been taken off, but even so, just by moving the leg, you can see that it was disconnected. So what are we to do? Just continue to tell you about these horrors and everybody say how awful? And I do understand that. I understand those of you that are very upset by the photographs. I really, really do. But we have to move forward. So this is my plan. I'm preparing a dossier for the Minister of the Interior, because ultimately those are the people we report to. They're the people ultimately responsible in Morocco for the associations, the ones that we submit our returns to. In that dossier, we will explain very clearly and we will set out what has been happening. And we need support and help. Now, we're not asking for a lot. We're asking in the first instance if they would authorise the continuation of building shelters for these animals. And I will go and see the manager to the local Qaid, and I will tell him that's what I'm doing. We will send a series of photographs that CMO is in the process of taking now to show them how carefully we have constructed animal shelters to blend in with the countryside. We haven't built a great big hotel that sticks out, almost like a bunion on the face of the land. We have been very careful, very discreet. We are much heartened by our success in the courts because we now have the experts' report on our piste, if you remember, the road that we built into our refuge that we want to use as a running track for the animals as well. Of course, we didn't have any help from the Qaid's office. And if I remember rightly, I think the Qaid did say at one stage with much annoyance that there was no Shabba there. And he wanted us to stop building the wall. We have been able to show, because the expert who couldn't get a history of the land from the local authority insisted, he made an application and he insisted that the history be put together, and it was done through satellite images. And it shows quite clearly that in 2004 there was no public road here, and the road only existed when Charles bought the land and started to build it himself. So we feel quite pleased that in a way we've been able to go beyond the local authority and we start to get to the truth. Of course, now we want to have the Shabba opened. That's for another day. The Shabba is the river that runs alongside our land that eventually comes down from the mountains and goes into Marrakesh. So that's the first part of our plan. We will document everything, and I mean everything, including requests I've had to pay the Qaid and everything will be okay. Well, it won't be okay, I'm afraid, because we won't pay it. We're not interested in that sort of corruption. In terms of the King, I'm so grateful to everybody. We had a petition and it was signed by nearly 50,000 people. And I've had the equivalent of 500 letters and notes. Those will all go in a package with a plea from us that if we have done anything wrong, and we may have done something wrong because we didn't build the hotel we were given authorised plans to build, we save the animals instead. But we want the King to recognise that we have done this for Morocco. I am Moroccan. I see myself as Moroccan first, although I come from the UK. I love this country. I love the people. I deplore cruelty. I deplore cruelty to humans, to animals, as I would in the country of my birth. So we will continue to fight that battle. But I think now is the time that we have to be really positive, and we have to open this up at government level and at the Palais Royal level, because I know there are people there committed to change. And if the local administration won't work with me, I will go beyond. I want to make it clear before I finish, that's not the whole of the local administration, because in the local administration, you have the Qaid's office. He's appointed by the King, has been there for a lifetime at the position. And in the 2011 renewed constitution after the Arab Spring, a lot more power was given to elected representatives. And we do have a very, very good local representative who you can always find down in the commune. He is superb, and local people are very thankful to have him. So it isn't the elected representatives in the commune that we've had difficulty with. And there are now so many good people behind us wanting to help here in Morocco. And it has been a country where challenge has been difficult. People are quite nervous of challenging those that see them to be more powerful than they are. And I think I've been a bit of a shock to the system, because I will challenge anybody. And if that leads ultimately to me having to leave Morocco, so be it, because I will leave behind me a team who are amazing. I probably will leave Charles, who is incredibly diplomatic and he owns the land. So there's nothing you can do to me. And I will continue to fight for the rights of these working animals. Thank you everybody for listening, and I hope you understand why not is an appropriate time to take comments. I've had all your comments. I've had the petition signed. I've had the letters. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. It is now my job to make sure it works. Bye-bye for now, everyone.